Welcome, y'all. Welcome to ZenChaos. That over there is Zen. I am Dean. And this is ZenChaos, bitches. Ha ha! Yes,
Welcome.
up. What's up, son?
How you doing, my G?
Listen. I'm just trying to move and groove and move, trying to do better than I did yesterday. But you know what has been interesting as hell?
What is that?
The Honorable Ketnaji Brown Jackson's hearing for her to become our next Supreme Court justice. Ha!
That's been interesting. Something I
This-
wouldn't have tuned into, but I'm glad I did.
I think they're trying to make this like the Republicans are obviously trying to, throw dirt and smear her name, her legacy. Some people think that it's rightfully so. Some people don't believe it's rightfully so. But what we're here to do for you is at least give you the facts around her most high-profile case. Good brother Zen, could you just let the people know what the fuck is going on?
So, Ted Cruz went down hard, and a couple of the Republicans on the fact that she's given out lenient sentences to people who were involved in child porn related sex offense cases.
Right.
So they were trying to say that she's giving people sentences that are way under the standard or the recommended standard for the crimes that they do, and she's lenient on, basically saying that she's lenient on crime and lenient on child porn crimes, which just about everybody is going to be like, well, we don't like that. We don't want somebody up here that's going to be doing that. But
rightfully so. Who would like, you can't protect the fucking child fucking toucher.
Right. Yeah,
don't become the Catholic Church.
Anybody really wants to do.
You can't become the Catholic Church.
Right. We're not up here, just shoving it under the table.
Completely.
But it's what they tried to paint her as, in a sense, as doing, is kind of skirting under the rug these people who did these heinous things and letting them go easy and not really punishing them. But it's not exactly that simple. If you go look at the cases, all of them minus one of them, which is the one we're going to discuss, got the minimum that I think all of them got the minimum that probation had suggested, which Mr. Cruz didn't bring up. And when Mr. Cruz was pushed back on it, he was like, "Oh, well, my team didn't have that information."
Of course,
you probably just
not.
Said, but you went dumb hard as if you were right. But all of the sentences minus the one were above or at the minimum that probation required or requested. So it was like, yes, these were under the recommended, but still, it was at the limit that probation was suggesting. So, in looking up the case that was bad, the facts of the matter matter. The facts of the matter matter. The facts are bad in one sense.
Yup.
But they play into why she did what she did.
All facts matter. That's what you're stating.
Yes.
All
facts matter.
But some of those facts, pretty fucking damning.
They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad facts.
So, what is old boy's name again?
Wesley Hawkins. Wesley
Hawkins. Well, here's the issue with brother Hawkins. So, children from the ages of 11 to 17, he had pictures in porn, little boys and little girls, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
There was a little girl involved in at least one of them, yes.
At least one video, but mainly little boys. Doing a whole load of shit that I do not want to repeat on this program. You can go ahead and look. But he had them as doing some pretty damning and disgusting and fucked up things. Then it wasn't undercover, but he was open to sharing and receiving more and giving more to what he had. and he was 18 when this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fucked up when you look at it just off of that. But then during the case, we come to find out that obviously he has to have a psychological evaluation. And in that psychological evaluation, if I'm not mistaken, Brother Zen, it comes to find out that the brother was autistic.
He's dealing with
Like
some
slightly.
type of mental.
He
Yes,
has some
whether it's
kind of mental.
ADHD, something that prevented him from socially connecting with other people
So that's
like that.
that is a hell of a question though, because especially like hold on one second, like because and the only reason I'm saying that is just because when we think about mental illness, I'm trying to think of what would be the mental illness diseases that would cause him to want to get into child porn. Like I don't think ADHD is going to be, you know what I'm saying, or like maybe Asperger's or something like that, possibly depending on the severity of it. But what would the issue be?
So, in reading it, the details didn't go into exactly what sparked it,
What it
but
was?
there was a mix of he had homosexual desires
Because
that
and then couldn't release that because of his religious background, right?
because of the fact that he's being raised in a super religious household.
Okay.
You blend this with I don't connect with people like that, so I'm going to almost guarantee that his peers were not like him. So you
Can't be.
can't turn to and connect with anybody to try and express, hey, this is what I have going on inside. I can't really talk about it at home because my mom is super against it. Everybody that's at my church is super against it. Like, this is what I can only imagine is what he's dealing with. We were discussing
Right.
this earlier. Me and you both said, yo, at 18, we had porn readily
Regular
available. We would share stuff with our friends, but it's like
adults.
it wasn't until now though. It wasn't until right before we started this that I kind of thought like, well, that's coming from a place of privilege on our part. We have,
Yeah.
I say, in the sense of we have those people to connect to and to relate to and to share thoughts like this with that he may not have had as an
I
outlet.
didn't well, shit, for the longest time I didn't either, and I wasn't fucking, and I don't like fucking children.
Hey, that's
You see what I'm
not
saying?
us. His thing was that how much I buy this part, I don't know, because it still sounds like you were reaching, but he said that he connected with the boys that he would see in the videos because they were able to explore something at such a young age that he wasn't able to do. And he was curious about just like the fact that they could do what he feels inside and he can't do that. So he wasn't watching it for pleasure purposes, but just as like he connected with them. Could that be the case? Maybe. Do I think so? Not exactly. But at the same time, I don't know.
Here's the thing. This is an 18-year-old kid who was in high school who fucking like
May not
obviously
be fully mentally developed.
may not be fully mentally developed. So I guess that does have to play a factor into the case, especially when it comes to sentencing.
I would
Right?
think so. Yes.
Especially because all facts matter, right? So
Right.
you have to factor in everything. That's what we want judges to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you want to pull up something that Cory Booker said that you submitted that you yourself found?
Yes.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead and just to talk about sentencing, right? And then yes, people, we're gonna have to do the 30-second pause because YouTube fucking hates life. All right, here we go. We got Senator Booker talking to the Honorable Jackson.
I really do appreciate that. Jumping really quickly to a lot of talk today about these child exploitation cases. And Senator Durbin, I think that actually Josh Hawley used the word attack when describing his own. So I don't understand what that point of sensitivity was. But I individual cases, and we've now heard about two. You've presided over as a judge more than
Okay, interesting fact. We're going to let him continue saying it, but just have to pause the people. Here we go.
10, 15 cases?
I've presided over 14 cases that involve child sex crimes, but over my career as a trial judge, I've presided over more than 100.
Right. And cases are heavily fact specific, right?
That is true.
Did you remember all the facts of the case that?
Can we talk about that for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Cases being fact specific. So while the Republicans, when they were on the smear campaign for Honorable Jackson, right, they were omitting all the facts about this man. Would we both agree?
Yes.
Because as far as we knew, is that you had this like this is how it's to the general public, the way that most people are receiving the knowledge. Before that, they had to start kind of dissecting a little bit more of it because more information started coming out about this. But they're just presenting it as like, you got this 18-year-old man who was out here, like, actually, I don't even think they said 18-year-old. They just said, you had this man who was like, soliciting like, child pornography on his device. And then you basically gave him, what was it? Was it the minimum, below the minimum? She gave him below the minimum because of the probation.
Gave him
way below the fucking minimum. And then obviously, like, it was even, I think maybe it was even below, like, the probation minimum as well, right? So obviously, when you hear that at face value, like you said earlier on the podcast, it's like, yeah, fuck all of this. Like, fuck you too for even letting this motherfucker off. But now that when we start getting in specifics about this case, about this kid being 18 years old, this kid also not having anyone to express his other darker parts of, like, maybe wanting to be with a man because of the religious outbreak that he's having, but then also coupling that with a mental disorder that we may not know what the mental disorder is, but it must have been heavy enough that Honorable Jackson decided to say, hey, I think this is what we need to do. And I believe that happens because, like, I don't think most of us understand how impeded in life sex offenders are, right?
Right.
You have some work in your work. You have to deal with multiple facets of people, but you have had to come across, like, dealing with individuals who do have a sexual offenders past, or the current sexual offenders, however people want to claim it. Because I guess once you are, you always are. What?
At least for 15, 20 years.
On paper. What is that? And can you please? And it's a fucking goddamn fly.
See, it just keeps hovering right in the corner.
I don't know what. It's like a moth or something.
Make its way on.
What the fuck it is? It's something though. What is it? Like, how was his life impeded? Like, what? Even though she gave him the minimum of all this shit, how was his life at 18 years old?
So, for this case specifically,
yes,
I had read he was a good student. So this was like an honor student, loved in school. Everybody's like kind of saw him as this great kid. So this was out of character for him, but he did have himself set up with a scholarship that he was getting for school. He had a $4,000 grant for school that was there and available to him that the day he got arrested, he lost. So money to go to school, gone. We all know what that's like with student debt. So you've jacked yourself up there. Also, pleading guilty, which he did. He did go ahead and plead guilty to a whole bunch of the facts that the Republicans laid out. They stated exactly what he pled guilty to. That causes him to be a registered sex offender for the next 15 years. Being a registered sex offender, I believe he got dropped down to a level 1. I couldn't exactly tell based off the wording of the documents what level he got dropped down to, but any level means that wherever you go, wherever you move to, you have to notify them. This limits where you can live, the proximity to schools, the proximity of where you work to a school, the proximity just where you work, with the amount of people that you deal with, the type of people that you deal with. It may limit the amount, what type of work you can do. He was monitored on his internet access and all of his emails and any internet activity for 5 years, I think, after this. So this is 2013 for the following 5 years, while also spending a year in the beginning on house arrest, basically. So limiting your internet activity is going to limit the jobs that you can do. So if you're going to say, oh, do stuff where you're not around people and you sit home, do work from home based stuff, that's kind of nixed based off the fact that you've got your system monitor, which is going to probably limit what you can actually look into for certain types of work. So it's now you've limited his job opportunities, you limit where they can live. They got to tell everybody what they are, which is going to limit people giving them opportunities. So it says at 18 years old, this is what he set himself up for the next 15 years. So it's adding more prison time, going to make him better. That's how she looked at it. Is more prison time going to punish what he did, which was downloaded photos, shared some with one person. Downloaded photos and videos, shared some with one person, and then that person that he shared them with had pressured him to do sexual acts to his fictitious daughter live for him that he completely ignored. No response at all, they said. They said he sent them a bunch of messages in between. The only thing that he responded to was when the guy asked for pictures. He said, I have this, what do you want? Here's the email to get it. So it was, yes, you downloaded stuff you knew you weren't supposed to have. You didn't fight when you got caught on it. Cooperated with everything from there. No criminal history. Super young. Not all there mentally. Look at the background growing up. Single mother. So this is your family, 2-parent household thing. The dynamic that has, the effect that has on the kid. You guys all factor this in. So the facts matter. All of them. What does this lead to? She gives him 3 months. Over the minimum of, I think it was like 4 years, 5 years that they were trying to give him.
I don't even know what this was. Yeah.
But it's like, she looked at it like what he's already done to himself and what he set himself up for the future already. That's automatically there. That's punishment enough. But that's factoring in all of the facts.
All of the facts, no?
Not just the heinous element. Which is heinous. Here's
the question. What happened if he was 17 and this was happening?
I think he'd be treated the same. Probably even lighter. Based off of his age. And then it's now you're a minor dealing with minors.
Yeah, that's what I just went to.
The prepubescent, it still might be the element of the prepubescent since they're under 12 or whatever. So that still might play in. But the part that I didn't mention is based on his age being 18, they have, I guess, what they call a prison camp, which I'm guessing they can send you to.
He wouldn't be able to go, yeah.
Which he can't go to based off of his age. So they're like, we can't send you to prison camp, which is maybe where you would go to try and get help with fixing the mental issue that's causing you to do what you're doing. But we can't do that. So we'll put you around your support system. Your support system is at home. Your mom is at home. The people in your community who are there to help you are there. So sticking you in prison is not going to help deter or fix whatever issue is going on, which didn't seem to really be that bad because they said they psychologically tested him and he didn't respond in a sexually excited way to young boy content. So it leads me to question, like, why did you then have so much of it? Like, what's the point?
Right.
Were you like looking at them to connect over and over again? Like,
that's my question. Exactly. Because
what did you do with it?
He had like a smorgasbord of this shit.
Yeah, he had a lot.
That's the issue. He had a whole bunch. And then I think this highlights our issues with the criminal justice system, right? And what I mean by that is because we're going to get into this a little bit later, but obviously when it comes to sentencing and where Honorable Jackson lines up, but besides obviously giving a lot of these judges so much. What is the word I'm looking for? They just give we give these judges just kind of so much. We give them such a long rope in regards to like their sentencing. Like, you know, they kind of like, you know, they have large parameters that they're able to operate within, right? So you have that coupled with the facts of this case, but then regardless, going back to like the, you know, Holland issue in our criminal justice system, like there's no rehabilitation portion of our criminal justice system. Like we punish the crime, but then we don't rehabilitate the crime to then produce a productive member of society. So all we're looking to do in America is just punish the crime. Like this is a perfect, because you made up a point earlier, because you know what people don't understand is that, you know, of course you and I were having a discussion about this prior, and we were going back and forth, and I was not on his side nor Honorable Jackson's side on this. I was kind of like, fuck all this. And then as more of the facts are laid out, you start sending affidavits, and you start sending like, you know, like what charges were and what actually, like, you know, what evidence was and everything like that. You didn't start to realize like, oh, okay, this kid needs to be punished, but then there's no rehabilitation portion of it. Like even now, when you think about his support systems at home, well, how good is the support system if it let him into this?
Right. I did like, is his support system, granted, it's now been 7-9 years, almost a decade since it happened.
We haven't heard any. Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything new on him. But did he then get pushed into those deconversion camps? Like, did his mom send him down some route of like, yo, we're gonna freaking make you, I'm not gay no more? Like, are we going that route? Is that the help that he got? Like, I wonder. I don't know, but I wonder.
I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that. But I do know what a good answer would be is if America did have a legitimate rehabilitation portion with this whole criminal justice system. Like, I'm not saying no, you shouldn't be punishing people. You should be punishing him and punishing people. Like, you know, shit. His life is fucked. He's fucked. Fucked. He can't even have a life till he's like 35. And at that point, he has no job skills.
Mess around and be homeless, and you end up like the people that we have, which is what we call rotation. Meaning every week you got to move somewhere new. Why? Because if you're at any particular address for over 8 days, I think you have to register at that address, which means notifying the town, like, this is where I live. So if you're homeless, our way of getting around that is, hey, we're going to move you every week. Every Wednesday, we shift you to a new address. And you got it. This is how you live your life. So now try and get a job doing that. You're bouncing around to 3 different towns every week, and you still got to get back and forth to work. Trying to work in any form, because, you know, trying to have internet access, good luck. Good luck with whatever limited, restricted internet they're going to give you to try and search around for things.
And then on top of that, I do not feel bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't feel bad about that. Like, you know, you're going to have
in
to
most cases, no.
You know what I mean? This is like
this is, you brought this on yourself.
Yes.
So,
but speaking to a larger issue within America is that there has to be some kind of rehabilitation portion, because what ends up happening is that you just get these people that just keep reoffending because they get kind of caught in a cycle, no matter what that cycle may be. Like, we need to actively try to break that shit to be able to like use you should be punishing criminals, and then obviously those who aren't going to be reformed, it is what it is. But the ones you know that are going to be released back into society, we got to do something.
That's what I think she did for this kid. I think she looked at him and were like, yo, you fucked up. Like, you did. But I'm going to give you a chance to try and right the ship. Good luck, because you still got these restrictions. I'm not taking those away. But I'm not going to lock you up for 5 years first.
But
I'm not going to start you off with locking you up for 5 years and then say, go out and good luck.
Well, effectively, what is the kind of difference? Like, and don't get me like, because okay, the difference obviously, he's not behind bars. He's not having to potentially maybe fight for his life and be in really fucked up situations.
Probably get killed in there or kill himself.
Very true.
Because he's at home. Really take kindly to pedophiles.
He's at home. So think about the pressures if this is what he was going to because of his issues at home. It just makes you what other shit that he made. Like, obviously we haven't heard anything. But like, what could he have got? Like, you know what I'm saying? Well, like
if it's like the people that I've dealt with, especially people who have come off being locked up, they are required to meet with a counselor. So you're required to meet with the counselor. It's not an optional thing. And that's the other part, is you can't break these rules either. You can't break rules. It's not like, oh, I got off on 3 months and then I'm just an offender or whatever. Part of his plea deal was, yo, you also can't get in trouble. You can't do shit. You can't do any real bad shit at all. Or you have the opportunity then for the judge to go above and beyond without really any discretion. They can overcharge you then after this, and you really can't say much of anything. So you're restricted to home, but my guess is they're also going to force you into therapy, and hopefully that therapy will be better than whatever mom does. If mom's not, I mean, maybe mom had a come to help type moment of, hey, I know what I say Bible wise or whatever, but I accept you as you. I'd rather you feel free to express yourself over going and doing this. Maybe. And that's how he's made it this time without getting in trouble again.
I guess my biggest issue with this, right? Because because it's like, I just, because I feel as if we have no really, I know you're saying meet with a counselor, but like, how good is this counselor? Like, what is the program that we really have these people getting into? You know what I mean? Like, because like a lot of them like are repeat offenders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so what are we really
You're
trying to do?
generally graded for that. And I think that I'm going to assume that they're pretty accurate with the grading for it, which is where you get your levels, your level 1, 2, and 3 sex offender. Level 1 is not really likely to repeat. It doesn't really show signs of this being a habitual type thing. Level 2, you probably are, like, there's a good chance that you might do this again. Level 3, if we let you out there, you're a danger to the community. You are not safe to be around people. We can't really just leave you unmonitored in places. We need to know your whereabouts at all times, basically, because what you did, you didn't really show remorse for. Whether it's a child thing, whether it's a R-word thing, you did this and weren't really repentant of it. So there's a good chance if we let you out and leave you unrestricted, you're screwing up again. So his was one of those, you're probably not going to do this again. And look where he's at now.
Right.
If he had done something again in looking up him on the sex offender registry, he would have multiple charges, and there's only the one from 2013. He would have something post 2013 if he had repeated.
So effectively, she wasn't wrong.
Right.
Effectively, justice did prevail.
To an extent, yes.
Why would you say to an extent, though?
Well, because it's still that I don't know how it factors in, but that the restitution element of if the people who are in the videos can come at you for downloading their stuff, like offhand participating. Like, I guess it's in that sense, you could say yes, for him, in his case, justice was served because of his participation of downloading, largely of being a downloader.
Yes.
So you participated. So yeah, I guess you would say yes, justice was served.
For him,
I don't want the bigger. Yeah, you're not for the original distributor, obviously.
No. But then it comes to ask a question too. If he was not approached, would he have shared it?
Almost guaranteed now. Almost guaranteed now. And then he probably would have gotten worse.
Yes.
That I think would have led to getting worse.
This would have
you give it more time for like another year or 2 years to develop, escalation. And then somebody hits him up. It's like, yo, I'll give you $3,000 for a video of this. It's like, yo, I can make bread off this.
The escalation would be disgusting.
Yeah.
So she caught him at the right time, because they also added his
super sloppy about it. He was super sloppy about it. That's another part that to me it's like he's not some like mastermind behind this.
No.
Like, you download it off a site that's connected to YouTube.
Yeah,
Granted,
when
I
I
don't
read
know
it, I
how
was like,
that works.
first of all, how did the child
How do
pornography
you
get on
get this
YouTube?
stuff out? But this is
On
also 2013.
YouTube.
This is
What's-
YouTube 2013.
Oh yeah, this is
I think
unforgivable.
YouTube 2013 was very different than YouTube now.
True. Didn't YouTube back then have porn?
Not necessarily. I don't think they had porn, but
But it was
they were
like
nowhere near as
their
restricted as they
risque
are.
lines, right?
So it's probably one of those you put up an unmarked video with some generic title and nobody's looking at it.
Very true. Which is now you gotta.
Which is
put
what we
every
got to
type of-
now, where we've gotten videos that were like, "Yo, this was shared on the internet. This was out there. You could find it." I'm going to assume it was something like that, but
Right.
he tried. Oh, I'm gonna use 3 emails. He tried to be discreet, but
And she's
Yeah.
only presided over 10 to 14 child pornography cases. But fuck this fucking shit is a headache. I couldn't be no fucking judge.
it's a lot. And the
Especially-
other part is the half of the final deposition or whatever that was written out for it. It's case law. So it's just citing a whole bunch of different cases where, to me, worse than what he did has happened. And they got less time, and they were grown-ass men. So grown-ass men.
Yes, man. Yeah.
So it's like, are you going to treat an 18-year-old more harshly than you treat a 40-year-old? And say that this is going to rehabilitate them? This is going to help them be better? We're going to help them be better people to society by sticking him in jail and letting him become incarceration minded, institutionalized style? Like, is that the route that we really want to go? Yes, I'm
Well, some people, I
completely
guess,
against
would.
child pornography stuff, but there also has to be a human element still.
I think the larger issue is, I think for most people, is because the rehabilitation process for criminals in general, especially individuals with child pornography, that's not something that's known. You know what I mean? Like what
Right.
you do hear about is how in Alabama they will castrate you medically. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? If you are convicted down there, like we hear shit like that, but we don't hear like, oh, this is the rehabilitation process these individuals have to go through to become a more productive member of society. We don't see that. All we see is you go to jail, you come out, and then potentially, like, you know, the only time you hear about is when they do it again. But I would wonder how many people would go on, because there's like, isn't there a website where you can look at how many sex offenders are around you,
You can look up your registry in your local area,
right, in your local area, and people would be surprised, no
At
matter
how
where
many,
you go,
yeah.
no matter where you go.
Because I know some of them so well from meeting with them so much. There was a
Yup.
period of time me going and walking through Patchogue, walking right past them. I look at them, smile, say hello, because I'm like, yo, y'all know me. I'm not going to ignore you.
Yeah,
But I turn right to my wife, be like, yeah, it's a sex offender. Yeah, that guy was a sex offender. Yeah, I just saw that guy last week. Yeah, we got into an argument over X. But what was the question I just had?
all hell's breaking
Oh,
loose. Yeah, 'cause you're right.
Gone. It's gone.
All hell's breaking loose. Yeah. Is Russia gonna have to leave Ukraine? It looks like possibly. Yeah.
No, what is it? Something about the rehabilitation element.
It's not mainstream. None of us know. Like we don't. None of us know what is the rehabilitation process. So of course you're all automatically going to meet animosity because
Something
we're all
related
just
to
going
that,
to be.
generally.
We're all just going to be expected. Like it's going to be met with animosity because we're like, well, what the fuck did you have to do? What was it? Like it. Here's the question: are certain things unforgivable? And is this one of those unforgivable things?
That's what I was going to ask. So, the idea of you're caught with, or you're caught in something related to this, castrate them. Is what he did castration worthy at 18 years old?
If he
He
was in Alabama,
downloaded. Don't know what he did. He shared, got caught, confessed. I'll say he didn't really lie about it. He did technically at first. I'll say that much. But he didn't go into like, I'm going to lie for weeks and then come out and confess. Like, no, within the same day, he turned around and confessed. So is what he did simply for the fact that he downloaded something where we say you should never have use of this again? You didn't go out and do anything to any of them. You're not one of these that touched them or made them touch you or nothing. You didn't go that
and
far.
then when
You
presented with the option, you didn't even move forward. I would
right.
say
You didn't move forward on trying to watch live with somebody else taking advantage of somebody. You took a plea deal. You signed that and it's not even like you took a plea deal trying to say you ain't do nothing. Like, no, you admitted to, yep, I had this. This stuff was on my computer.
I would say for him, no. And the only thing that says no for me is just because of his age and compiled on top of that is the fact that he had the option, no matter if it was fake, but he had the option to be able to do something and he didn't. But then I wonder because they only offered him a 12-year-old girl. Will we have a different conversation if it was a boy?
I had wondered the same thing. If he was like, yo, I'm doing this stuff to my son.
Where are we at?
But yeah. But I do almost feel like he would still be like, no, because it seemed like what he had the majority of was young people with young people. There was a mix of older with younger, like grown adult with young kid. But the majority of what they talked about, at least, was young and young. So I don't like that's part of the psych element where I don't think that this was really his cup of tea.
So what the fuck was he getting?
I think it was like one of those you dipped your toe in, and then I don't know. I don't know why it stayed for so long and why you had him all like so much.
That's the thing.
That's the part I can't wrap my head around.
That's
like,
why
what got you into that part.
Which then makes me want to know, like, all right, you want to rehab this kid, but our rehabilitation isn't mainstream. And then I would bet money that it can't be that good. So, like, what did we set this kid up for? Because, like, okay, maybe this kid comes out from it and he's okay, right? But what about the next one who's actually really a scumbag and maybe could have been helped through true help, right? And maybe true rehabilitation, because we don't have any, you lead them right back on the same path to just leveling up in a negative way. That's my issue with the whole thing. It's like, what are we talking about of actual like rehabilitation, sentencing, like, because knowing the levels to this shit, like what
This
are we
leads
really
me to wonder, will somebody go out now to find him and interview him?
People already been talking to him. I think he does have an interview out there. Maybe no.
Because then I'd be interested to see, like, if somebody does find him, like, is he willing to talk about this now, considering he is still living as a registered sex offender to this day? At this point in time, he's still got another 7 years of it, 6 years.
Shit.
4, 5 or 6. 2013, 15 years. So that's 6 years. And that's it's not even definite that I don't think he's, well, no, it might be definite that he's off after the 15, off the registry. But yeah, you wonder, did he get therapy to actually help him?
Like we don't know, because we don't know the standards. It's not like
it's
really
like even the therapy that I know that guys that I dealt with went to, some of them are like, yo, it's garbage. They don't do anything. Some of them are okay with it, but most of them are like, yo, it's trash. They don't do nothing. Oh, there's no point.
It makes you wonder. So, like, are we just wasting their time just to be able to just hopefully send them back in to continue to feed this monster? Like, is there really true change? So I guess that's where the ire comes in from, is because it's like, oh, we don't really have a true rehabilitation system set up. So you need to send him to prison so that he can actually do the time, because we have nothing else to offer after that if you don't. Because to everyone else, it seems like a cakewalk. Even though you explained everything earlier, there are people listening who don't give a single fuck about none of that shit.
Yeah.
And rightfully so,
I get it.
especially when you, because we have no true rehabilitations within this country. So the only thing you actually do have is just punishment for crime, and then you don't punish for crime, then it's like fuck all. But then
That's why they want to punish so hard. That's why they want the punishment so harsh, because like we don't know how to actually fix this. So what we hope is kind of that beat it out of you method.
Overcorrection.
We're gonna punish you so hard that you never do this again.
Yep.
Why? Because we don't know how to work with you mentally. We don't know how to deal with that part.
Nope.
Like we say that we want it because it sounds nice, but that's slow process. We ain't about slow process. We need you to fix this
in
now.
the 80s and 90s. When did shock therapy stop? Let's look that up.
I was gonna say I ain't gonna go as far as the 80s. That seems way too deep. They would have. I feel like they learned before that shit don't work. Although I think they did still try it. They did still try it with mentally ill people.
I'm about to say no. They definitely. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, yeah. In the 1960s, they stopped around there.
They had to figure out fairly early that shit
off by 20 years. Excuse me.
80s ain't that far. No, it ain't that far back in the history. So y'all should have known by then that shit don't work.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man, because you looking back at a lot of shit that was going on. You're just like we.
But that is the Republican thing, was punishment. That was their big focus, was we should punish them for longer. They should be punished for the longest amount of time, because in their heads, if you do that, when you get out, you're never going to do it again. Meanwhile, you send somebody to jail for 30 years, what are they most likely to do when they get out? Do something to go back in.
Hey,
I dealt with them. They come out freaking scared. I dealt with the guy who was in for 30 years, and I saw him like literally the day after he got out. He was upstate. They let him out. They stuck him on a bus, sent him down to Suffolk, where I'm at. And he's like, yo, I don't know anything. He's like, I haven't been out in the world since 1980 something. I was like, literally, and even giving him bus directions, I'm like, you really probably have no clue how to do anything right now. Like, you're coming from payphone time period. Like, you have nowhere to go to try and get any type of a lifeline. You don't know about Google. You don't know about any of this.
And they don't teach. It's not even have like an exit class.
Nah, not like that. Not that I know of. Like, granted, they're moving to this point of now you're letting people have phones and stuff in, but you're not at a point of like, hey, let's assimilate you to the current world. This is the technology that's out there. This is how you get it. Like, none of that. I remember I genuinely felt bad. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go get arrested. He's like, this is too much. He's like, I can't do this. He's like, I'm better off in there. He's like, I don't know anything out here. And it was one where we weren't even exactly helping him that day because something, I forget why, but we weren't exactly helping him. And I'm like, oh, well, you just got to go do this, this, and this. And he's like, so imagine sticking an 18-year-old for their maximum or their lowest maximum. Like, you're going to stick them in there for 8-9 years and then say, all right, now come out. Good luck with technology, with the way that we've advanced. Imagine he was getting out now with COVID.
Well, I'll raise you this, because we don't have rehabilitation.
Right.
He sat at home at the crib, chilled. You know what I mean? Maybe went to some counseling, had to get some fucking beef from his mom. Probably wasn't really able to work like that. You know what I mean? Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but he wasn't able to make really any kind of dollars and any kind of cheddar. You see what I'm saying? So he was just at home being able to be cushy. At least if his ass would have went to jail, you would have had to been sweating for a large amount of that. It's a different kind of lifestyle. It ain't gonna be as nice and cool. He at the crib. He can, he may be able to go on the internet wherever he wants to, but he can do everything else. I mean, yeah, you may not be able to like live near kids. Okay,
I get you. You're living a chill life for the fact that you did something super fucked up. You got off
because we as America don't have an actual true rehabilitation.
This judge recognized that, so she let you off a bit easier.
which then pisses everyone else off because it's like, well, what else are we like? You don't let the nigga sit at the crib, but then it's like, was she wrong?
What are you gonna do with him?
What?
He fits criteria that lets us lower this, and he's jacked his life up. I'm not trying to screw it up more.
True. So
I think that was her route.
And I
it's like, hey, within the law, I can drop this down, so I will.
But then also too, there's something that we learned, and I don't think we have to put it on now. That you know, Senator Booker ended up saying, basically being like, you know, your sentencing is you're in average with every other judge within America. Like you're not below, above, like you're like par for the course.
Which speaks to how we address child porn stuff, which might lead to like questioning across the board, but
it should be not only a question just about child pornography, but just crime in general. But then also too, look how like, you know, the whole Epstein thing was swept under the rug. Look at the whole Prince Andrew thing swept under the rug. So
I think not gonna lie, my bet is that plays in some form. They're like, we can't go OD hard on everyone and then just completely ignore these ones. So we have to be lenient with some of these regulars too. Super bad ones that we catch, obviously not. But the ones who do these little ones like him, kind of slap on the wrist them. That's the part that I can't ignore, which is one of those. Do I think that she necessarily plays directly in and is tied in? But no. However, you wonder why across the board do you have a standard set here that everybody's cool with going under?
Literally.
What's the point in setting your standard here? Then just drop it down. Just lower the standard.
It's been a lot to think about. This has been a hell of a conversation. Listen here, people. I think that you could take this, like, share, subscribe it. Let people, you know, go ahead, let your comments fly below. You know, are you with Zen on this? Are you with me on this? I don't even know where I stand. I just know it's like fuck him, but then it's like we don't have anything to way to fix him, so that's why it's fuck him. We don't have a way to fix. I prefer to be able to fix people, but if we can't fix people, I want to punish people. That's kind of where my whole thing is. I understand what you did, but it's still just like, well, you know what I mean? Or are you being a little bit more sophisticated within your shit, like Zen is in his thought, and you know, in the way that he kind of put it down. I don't know. This is I don't know. I don't fucking know. Large part of me saying fuck the kid, but then the smart of me is just kind of like, but then still a large part of me is like fuck the kid, put him up.
Questions need answers, and at the moment we don't have them.
We don't have these fucking answers, but
based off all the facts,
he got what he was supposed to get.
That's what I think. Still fuck him though.
Exactly, still fuck him. Fuck all that shit. You know, the fucking child pornography motherfuckers go eat a dick and die slow. I am Dean. That over there is the yin and the yang, brother Zen. This has been another weekly installment of ZenChaos. We'll check you out. You know what I'm saying? We'll check you out next week. You know where we be at. Monday nights, 8 p.m. See you there, bitches.